Hey Wild Mamas and friends, welcome back to Wild MamaTV. I'm Tiff, and today I want to show you how to find time to do deep reflection with kids at home. I would say that most mamas that I know and work with do want to do deeper levels of reflection and come into a deeper awareness of who they are. However, the struggle around time is something that really blocks them from doing so. So that's something that you have struggled with. Today, I have 12 tips and insights on how you can actually find the time to show up for yourself and do this deeper work with kids at home. So when I'm talking about deeper reflection, what I'm talking about is really taking the time to dig deeper to see what's really going on within you. Who are you? What do you want? What's your vision in your life? What are your dreams? And specifically this month, we're diving really deep into how you can manage your emotions in difficult times, because considering everything that's going on right now, we got a lot of emotions that need our attention. And so for me, that looks a lot like journaling. I love to journal. And for other people, it's different, ways to do that. Some people like to meditate. Some people like to go on long walks. Whatever it is, take a class online, read books, whatever it is for you. The point is, we need space and time to do deeper levels of reflection so that we can come into a deeper relationship with ourselves. Because when we do that, we can learn how to manage our emotions better, and we can come into better alignment into who we are. Because here at Wild Mama, what I am here to do for you is help you learn the practical tips and tools and whatnot in order to heal, be whole, and live aligned to the energy of your soul. Because I want you to be the best version of yourself as a mama. So when I talk about deep reflection, that's kind of what I'm talking about. I won't get too much into this video around the specifics around deep reflection, because today we are focused on and talking all about time and how to find it, and when you find it, how to protect it. Okay, so let's get started. I have my list here that has all of my 12 tips for you on how to find time. So let's jump into number 1. So the first thing that I want you to do in order to think about finding time for yourself is we got to get to the heart of the matter, okay? You might be like, Tiff, what is the heart of the matter? Well, let me tell you. The heart of the matter is you really need to be honest with yourself about whether or not you actually want to do this level of deep reflection in your life at this time, right? Because I'm going to tell you, finding the time is usually not the actual problem, right? Finding the time tends to be a symptom of a larger issue. A larger issue that might be going on within you. Maybe there's fear, maybe there's uncertainty, whatever it might be. But usually time is not actually the problem. So when I say getting to the heart of the matter, I really want you to ask yourself, do I want to do this level of deep reflection at this point in my life? Especially considering the times that we're living in right now, you really need to decide if this is what you want. Because here's what tends to happen, right? Somebody, right, a mama somewhere in the world, doesn't actually want to do this level of deep reflection. But instead of owning it, what ends up happening is she lists out all the excuses, or they list out all the excuses, or the constraints, or the this, that, and the other that get in the way. So it becomes circumstantial, right? Because of my circumstances, or because my kids are at home, or because my husband is working, or because I'm breastfeeding, or because, there's always some reason why she or they can never find the time to do this level of deep reflection. And so then they just circle around in a pattern and get stuck. But when I ask you, do you really want the time? Do you really want to do this level of deep reflection? If you genuinely don't want to do it, there's no judgment, but you need to own and take responsibility for the fact that it's not something that you want. And instead of wasting and exerting energy on all of the circumstantial things that you're saying are getting in the way, I need you just to own that you don't actually want to do that in your life right now. So this is very, very important. So if your answer is no, like genuinely, you're just like, I don't have the time, I don't want the time, I don't want to go there, it's not for me right now, it's okay. Just be real about that, right? Take responsibility for that. But then I just want you to say, okay, that's not something I want. That's not something I want to do. And then you could just move on. You could stop this video right now and move on, right? So I just want you to be honest. However, if when I ask you the question, do you really want to find that time? Do you really want to do this level of deep reflection? And you say, yes, Tiff, I really, really do. I know I've been, doing some things, making excuses, not showing up for myself, whatnot, but I do genuinely want to dig deeper. I do genuinely want to improve my relationship with myself. Then that's great. And we can keep moving forward. But then you have to own and take responsibility for finding the time and making it happen, right? You can't be sitting around waiting for everybody else. So when I say, let's get to the heart of the matter, that's what I mean. You need to own your decision, whether it's yes or no. And then you need to own that it's your responsibility to find the time. No one's going to give you the time. You have to take it. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I wanted to start with the heart of the matter so that we could just get real with ourselves, because none of this is going to work if we can't get real, because like I said before, time is usually not actually the problem. It's usually a symptom of a larger issue that's keeping you from showing up for yourself. So that's number one. Number two, which I think it's kind of related, but number two is I want you to assess your needs and get clear on what you want. So if your answer is yes, I do want this, you also need to think about, in this day and age and in this circumstance that you find yourself in the stage of your life right now, what do you actually want? What needs do you have? Because only when you know what you want and what your needs are, can you then start to set boundaries? Can you then start to create a structure to find where the time is that you can use to have that level of deep reflection, right? Because when you know your needs and when you know what you want, you can start cutting out all the BS. All the things that don't align to that, you can cut it out. But a lot of times when we don't decide what we want and when we don't really get clear on our needs, everything feels urgent. Everything feels like it's the thing that I should do. And that's why you're so busy. That's why you don't have any time. But when you get clear on what you want and you get clear on what you need, then you can get aligned to that and you can align your actions to that. And then you can start to cut out all the BS that doesn't help you get closer to that point. So I wanted to share a little bit about things that I need, given the current circumstances, and something that I really had to get clear on in this specific circumstance, that I'm not going to be a teacher, right? My kids are at home, but I ain't teaching them. I also know that I need a lot of solitude and rest. And so me having space to have solitude and take time to rest is really important for me in being able to maintain my well-being, and to have that space for deep reflection. I also need to dance, so I love to go to the park and dance. So that's something that I wanted to continue to have space for in my life. And then I really wanted space to focus on my work and focus on serving Wild Mamas and doing my program and, everything that I do with my coaching and, building up my business. I want space for that. So these are some things that I want and need at this specific time. And so anything that is not aligned to that, I put it to the side, right? And sometimes that even includes social media. So number three, my third insight for you today is to sleep. You might be like, Tiff, but we're talking about time. Why are you talking about sleeping? Isn't that taking away from my time? Honey, let me tell you, sleep is so imperative. Rest and sleep and naps is vital in your ability to communicate your needs, to advocate for yourself, to set boundaries, all of the things, to heal, right? If you're exhausted all the time, you are not going to have the strength or the clarity of mind to set any kind of boundaries, to say no, to ask for what you need, because you're barely going to be making it. And when you're in an exhausted state, you tend to cope more, right? We tend to have more coping mechanisms that include scrolling on our phone for hours, binge watching TV, binge eating, just like kind of like doing nothing but saying we never have time, or over servicing and over serving our kids, our family, this. We're just constantly going, constantly running. So this is just something that's really important to understand. So for me, I like to go to bed really early, right? So I know a lot of mamas, when they're kind of struggling to find that time, they tend to stay up really late, right? They tend to stay up till 1, till 2, and they're like, yo, that's my time when the kids are sleeping, that's my time. But that time in the morning, I can really say, like, unless you've been sleeping and then you wake up and you have that early morning time, I can say that a lot of times, and again, this is no judgment, a lot of times it's not the best quality time. It tends to not be the highest quality time. I'm not saying that it can never be, but a lot of times it's not. So I like to go to bed really early, and sometimes I find that mamas are like, okay, I'm gonna wake up early, I'm gonna do this thing, but they also keep their late bedtime. So I will suggest to you that if you are thinking about getting more sleep, I suggest going to bed earlier. I try to go to bed with my son around 8 or 8:30 with my little one. And I like to have my kids and my bigger kids in bed by 8:30. But usually I go to bed early so that I can wake up early, so that I'm still getting my full 8-9 hours of sleep every night. And so it's just really important for you to get sleep, right? To be well rested. And in addition to that, I take a nap every single day. So I have a 3-year-old right now, and I will take a nap. Even if he's not sleeping, I have him watch his iPad on the bed, and I say, Mom's gonna take a nap, and I will hold his hand or hold his leg while I'm sleeping, so that I know he didn't go nowhere, but I can kind of sleep in peace. And he loves it. He's like, Mommy's gonna sleep, I'm not gonna sleep. So he likes that I'm taking a nap and that he isn't taking a nap, even though he's gonna take a nap later. Me being able to still rest and take a nap, even if I'm with my 3-year-old who's still breastfeeding, it's a way for me to rest and cultivate, my well-being at the same time that I have to be with my son. So sleep, y'all. Okay, number 4 insight is stop looking for permission. So one pattern that I see in a lot of mamas is, yo, Tiff, I really want to wake up early, but to wake up early, it feels like it's a lot. Like I gotta get all the kids in bed early then, and that means I gotta like tell everybody that I'm gonna be waking up early, and then I gotta change our whole schedule. I gotta get them on board, and yada yada. All these things need to happen in order for me to be able to wake up. But in actuality, that's not true. If you want to wake up early, all you got to do is start waking up early. You just have to choose it. You have to give yourself permission. You don't need to get your kids on board. You don't need to get your partner on board. You don't need to get your husband on board. None of that. Like, you don't need to get your wife on board. Whatever it is, you don't need to get anybody on board but yourself. So I want you to stop looking for permission from everybody else to do this level of deep work, to create space for yourself. And I need you to give yourself that permission. It's very, very important. Number 5, I want you to honor your seasons and how they change. So sometimes you have needs and wants in a particular season, but then they change, right? Like when COVID hit and this whole pandemic, my needs changed. Like not necessarily dramatically, but I definitely needed way more solitude, and I got off social for 4 whole months, which is crazy as a person who owns their own business. So I think it's just really important for you to, honor your seasons and know where you are at this given time. Sometimes that's cyclical in terms of the month, right? Like maybe with your cycle, with your moon. Sometimes it's quarterly or seasonally, like every fall, summer, spring, winter. Whatever it is that you find is your season, I want you to learn to honor it. And be willing to adjust your needs and the way that you show up for yourself, the way that you find time for yourself, given that. Number 6, so communicate your needs to your kids. So this is very, very important. Simply like shooing away the kids, or like saying like, leave me alone, go away, like didn't I say don't bother me? When we say those kinds of things to our kids, we're not helping them learn how to develop empathy or care for us as human beings. So when you can learn how to express your needs to your children in a kind and loving way, but a matter of fact way, you're not asking them for permission, but you're asking them to see you and witness you as a human being with needs, that just as you would respect their need for space or their need to, have their feelings and emotions or whatnot, you want to invite them into having that same level of care and respect for you. So I find that a lot of mamas do not communicate their needs to their children for some reason or another. They think that, oh, well, my kids can't handle that, they can't understand that, or I should be able to, do everything for them and find time for myself. But like, you're a human being with needs and desires, and you get tired and you have trauma, and there's all kinds of things going on. There's a lot of pressure right now in particular. So if you can work to communicate that to your children, I think you might be surprised with how caring they can be. I found that with communicating to my children what I need, they're usually much more understanding. Even my 3-year-old, when I'm like, mommy really needs to take a nap right now, let's go in the room and you can watch your iPad and I'm gonna nap. He loves it, and he's so understanding of that need. And then my 12-year-old and my 10-year-old, if I'm just like, antsy or like pissed or cranky or just like, can you just leave me alone? It's kind of, I don't know, it causes stress for them, but it's also like almost comes off like a rejection of them, or they're the problem. Versus if I'm like, hands in viz, I'm really tired today, or I have a lot going on, I'm feeling a lot of pressure, I just need to be in my room for a little bit to take some time to journal. Maybe I'm gonna watch something, whatever. Do you mind just staying in your room, or do you mind just leaving me alone for the next hour or two? They're like, yeah, sure, mom, no problem. So I think it's just important for you to learn how to communicate your needs, but also to know that your kids can hold that kind of space for you if you allow them to, because it also just trains and teaches and helps them learn how to see adults as human beings and not just parents as people who are just going to overserve, always be available. That's just it's not reality, and it's not healthy. So that's number 6. Number 7 is protect your sacred space, aka set boundaries. Say no. This is very, very important, especially right now in this time when there's so much going on. What I'm seeing is a lot of mamas are just letting it like pile on. They're just taking on more, and not saying no, not setting a boundary. And it's almost like a survival mechanism. Like, I just got to get through this. I just got to make it through this time. I got to do whatever I need to do. I need to be the best parent in the middle of a global pandemic. It's just like, yo, slow your roll. No, you don't. What you need to do right now is protect your sacred space. You need to protect your energy. You need to protect your heart. You need to protect your soul. You need to protect your mind and your spiritual well-being. Because this is not a 3-month thing. They told us it was going to be over in 3 months. It ain't over. And it's not going to be over in another 3 months. So you need to accept that reality and know that maybe the question more is, how can I thrive in this time? How can I really protect my sacred space so that I can thrive? And so I think it's just really important for you to set that boundary. And when you know what you need, when you know what you want, it's much easier to set those boundaries. So before I get into number 8, if you are vibing with any of these insights so far, I want you to put in the comments below which insight is inspiring to you, or which one you're excited to implement this week. Okay, so number 8. So I want you to give yourself the best time of your day. So we talked a little bit about waking up early, but not everybody is a morning person. I get that. So I want you to think about, what is the best time of your day? When do you feel fresh? When do you feel alive? When do you feel on it? And I want you to give yourself part of that time of your day, right? So instead of giving that time to everybody else and putting yourself last, I want you to put yourself first by choosing, proactively thinking about, when am I at my best? How can I give myself that time in the day, right? And don't just default to the only time I can get is at night. The only time I can get is at 1 a.m. And that's when I'm at my best. Let's really take a step back and think about, if I had my way, when would my ideal time be to spend time with myself? So I just want you to think about that, and then try it. Try to give yourself part of your best time of your day. Number 9 is create a schedule that prioritizes you. So I think there's a theme here, right, that you can see. You are important. You need to prioritize yourself, right? Because nobody's going to prioritize you over them. So you got to prioritize yourself. And this is where a lot of mamas build resentment towards other people, because they want everybody else to see that they need the time, and they want everybody else to give them the permission and give them the time as like a gift. But if this is important to you, if you feel that you matter, you believe that you matter, you got to give that time to yourself. So when you create a schedule, your schedule needs to be centered around you. Now, this is where a lot of mamas tend to center their schedules around their children or around their partners. Again, they prioritize everybody else. But you really need to think about, what do I need on the day-to-day? And what does that then look like? How does that inform the schedule that I create? A schedule doesn't need to be rigid, but it does. I think we do need some structure, and it also helps to hold us accountable. And so I think it's just really important for you to make a schedule that prioritizes you. And so I'd be interested to see what kind of schedule you create if you think about yourself first. And this is not anything to be guilty of or like feel guilty about or whatnot. This is very, very important, because you will not have anything to give to anybody for any long-term amount of time if you don't learn how to prioritize yourself. Number 10. So number 10 is, let your kids be bored. So I think we have gotten into some weird state where we feel like we are a circus. We got to be entertaining our kids 24/7. Our kids don't know how to play by themselves. And it's just like, it's so impractical. You are not an entertainer. You don't need to be a circus for your children. Even if your child is 3 or 2 years old, you don't need to entertain them for 24 hours a day. It's okay for children to be bored. And I'm saying bored as in, like, they don't need to even be on electronics. Put the electronics away and let them sit. Let them figure out what motivates them in their lives. I would say that during quarantine, this has been a big theme for us in our home, is let them be bored, let them figure it out. And I would say that I'm happy to report back that my daughter, who is 12, had this moment where she came to me. She's like, "Ma, I'm having life goals." And this is after feeling bored a whole lot during this time. She's like, "I'm having life goals." I'm like, "What are you talking about? This is my language. Tell me what your life goals are." And she was like, "I want to learn Spanish, and then I want to learn German," which she initiated learning on Duolingo. And then she's like, "And I want to surf." So I'm like, hells yeah, let's do that. And then my son, who's 10, started building, like, if you have a 10-year-old, you know what a tech deck is probably. It's like these little skateboard things. But he started building his own, or creating his own tech decks out of wood. So he shapes them, he sands them, he does the whole thing and creates these tech decks out of wood that he gets from his dad. And then the other day, he built a whole kitchen that he found on the street for my 3-year-old, like one of those play kitchens. So it's just like, when kids are allowed to be bored, they get to find out what motivates them, versus you always telling them what they need to do. They need to be motivated, they need to be focused, da. But when you give kids space to play and they can use their imaginations, and they got to figure out, what do I want to do with my time? What do I want to do with my life? They start to get in touch with who they are, right? They start to get in touch with their own soul and the energy of their soul and their own purpose or desires or dreams. And then I feel like when they find that motivation, it's a whole different way of operating in the world. Just like us, when we find our own motivation and we know what we want, it's a completely different way of operating because our life force is flowing. And that's what's possible with our children as well. So let your kids be bored. And then number 11 is give limits for your home environment. So one thing that I think mamas stress out a lot about when it comes to finding time is their house feels chaotic. It's loud. The kids are running, screaming, playing, no boundaries, like yelling, fighting, like all these things. And it's like, how can anybody function in an environment like that? Like, I get it. Kids need to play. Kids need to yell. Kids need to run around. But I do feel like it's okay to set limits around the kind of environment you want to create in your home. And so for me, there's no yelling allowed in my house. There's no fighting allowed in my house. Even my 3-year-old, if he wants something, if he's demanding it from me, or if he's yelling at me, that doesn't go. And I always try to remind him, Lolo, use your words. And then I help him learn how to ask me. Say, Mommy, can I have that, please? Mommy, can I do this, please? And then he'll repeat it back and learn how to use his words. But there's certain things that I just know I can't function in an environment where there's fighting and yelling and like running and screaming like crazy, like you don't got no sense. I can't function like that. And it creates a lot of anxiety for me. And so I've taught my kids how to learn how to communicate. They don't tattletale on each other. They learn how to communicate with each other and deal with their own issues. They don't come to me with their problems unless they really can't solve it, and then we'll have a discussion between us. But I've just set a lot of limits in the home that prioritizes me too, because I'm the one that's making the money here. I'm the one paying the bills. I'm the one that has to function at my highest level in order to take care of them. So I matter, and it's very important for them to learn how to operate in this space in a way that also works for me. And then last but not least is treat yourself like you matter. So this is so simple, but take a shower. Take a shower every day. Get dressed. Do things that you like to do for yourself. For me, I like to paint my body sometimes, so you can see this painting. Today I had my whole face painted, and I went to see the sunrise at like 5:30 in the morning, and I danced and I did my thing at the ocean and like had this whole ceremony with myself and one of my friends. But sometimes I just like to paint my body, and I'm not going anywhere. Nobody's gonna see me, but it's not for anybody else. It's for me because I know that ultimately I matter. And so I take a shower every day. I get dressed in clothes that make me feel good. And you might be like, Tip, what does this have to do with finding time? When you feel good in your body and when you treat yourself like you matter, you prioritize yourself. You're motivated to prioritize yourself. But when you feel like shit, you look like shit, you got all kinds of shit on you, like who's gonna go try to find the time? There's a lack of motivation, right, to find the time to then go do this deep reflection, right? So set the mood, light candles, light incense, play music, dance in your house, do whatever you gotta do to show yourself that you actually really matter. So these are the 12 insights and tips that I have. And I wanted to give you one more bonus tip for finding time. And this is for like the folks who are for real, that you really want to find the time. But one thing I will say is turn your phone off for 4+ hours a day. Almost every day in the morning when I can, I turn my phone off from 8 to 12, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then I'll turn it off again at night all the way until the morning. And then on Fridays, I turn my phone off until Sunday morning. And I'm not always able to do the weekend one, but I do try. But just turn your phone off for an extended period of time, and ideally 4+ hours at a time. I guarantee you, your mind will be more clear, and you will find the time. But that's a real commitment, and so you gotta really want that. So overall, these were my 12 tips. I hope that they were helpful for you. Again, this whole month we're talking all about managing your emotions in difficult times. And step 2 in that 4-step process is welcoming your feelings with intention. So the only way that you can welcome your feelings with intention is if you operate with intention, and with you intentionally seek out the time, decide what you want, and commit to it. And so all of these tips and insights are meant to help you do that, so that you can welcome your feelings with intention and do this deeper level of deep work. And so if you haven't already, watch the previous video on my 4 steps on how to manage your emotions in difficult times, and then also download the free checklist that I created for you, all about managing your emotions and the 4-step process that I've created. So I'm so excited about what is going to come for you. I am, honored to walk alongside you in your journey to find your time to do deeper reflection and come into deeper relationship and awareness with yourself. And so I hope you enjoyed this video. Tell me below what you took away from it. Please subscribe to my channel. I'll be back next Tuesday, and I want to see you here. We'll be talking about how to process your emotions and overwhelm to build a deeper level of self-awareness. So we're going to go deeper into this topic on how to manage your emotions in difficult times. So I want you to be here. So I'm so grateful for our time together today. I hope it was valuable for you, and I'm so dedicated and committed to helping you heal, be whole, and live aligned to the energy of your soul as a mama. So have a great week, and I'll see you in the next video.